information. The second strategy that we can really say is national data center should be also established. In Somaliland context, we do not have a national data center. There are a lot of data which have been collected by different organizations or different institutions. It's really scattered. Those data needed to be stored in a national, in a way that the national, level can be benefited. So there must be also established a national data and statistics center. The other thing is, for these days, technology is very important. There is an AI and other technological tools which can support to have a reliable, accurate, and data-driven information. So I would also suggest the universities, the government institutions, the other organizations who are involved for collecting data or conducting research to have also a way that they can, use the technology to have such centers which can really be stored for this data. The third thing is data should not be just a collection of information. It has to be applied, it has to be used for policy making, for implementation of our strategies. So I think if we do that, it can really help our government or our Somaliland or even our institutions as the way we want. Thank you.
So thank you. About the sustainable data system, it comes from a right mix of technology, governance, and people. People, I think, is skill of people. So about technology, as is already said, we need to move from fragmented database to integrate interoperable platform. This platform, we can use analytic, we can use artificial intelligence. That means that we have to turn data into actionable insight. About people, skilled people, we need to train faculty and administration staff in data literacy. That means that we ensure that data is not just stored, but actively used to improve teaching, research, and decision. Also about governance is very important. We need to set a clear standard for data quality, for ownership and privacy. Privacy is very important. And we have to build this strong security and transparency to create trust across the institution. So I think we have data in higher education is important. We already talked yesterday. We have another here panel. The people from telecom doesn't know even that they have specialists in data science here. So communication is important, and we also we have to use technology for data.
Thank you so much, dear panelists, for your inputs and insights. Now I will give the opportunity to the audiences so that they can address questions to the panelists as well as have their inputs on the key topic of discussion. I would like the pro team and the other members helping me in disseminating questions. But my request is that I highly urge that your questions be as concise as possible. Kindly be to the point without giving any detailed introductions. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we all know, data is essential for evidence-based decision, effective governance, and sustainable development. You, as presidents of universities, how do you suggest to our policymakers to make use of the available data from the academicians to address the needs of our people for sustainable development, for sustainable solutions, instead of considering the views of the elders who have little idea about national development strategies?
Okay. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. And I do have two questions for you leaders in Somaliland and also in other countries. We have seen different reports made by governments and non-governmental organizations on the same activity. So in this case, my first question is, do we have truly a valid, accurate, and reliable data to be used for different activities so that we can lead our informed decision? And the second is, again, within the universities or in higher education commission, are there clear data collection, data management, data use, and data protection policies and guidelines? If we don't have that one, how committed as a university leader are you to materialize, to operationalize these gaps? Thank you.
Thank you for the panel, for the very inspiring discussion about data. As you know, I'm a data scientist. I travel to many African countries. The main thing I hear from the researchers in Africa is that they don't have access to data. That's the main comment I have heard from researchers in Africa. But I know that many NGOs, many NGOs in Africa, they do collect data, and they send the data to Europe and America. And these data sets are not made available to local researchers. That is, the data sets collected by NGOs are not made available to African researchers in Africa, which is a big problem. I think the governments in Africa should make sure that these NGOs also share the data with researchers in Africa so that they can also write papers about the issues affecting the various countries. Okay? And one other thing I like to point out, which I did not make in the talk yesterday, is that there's a report published by Elsevier, which is one of the publishing companies, which says that only about 2% of publications, 2% of publications come from African researchers in Africa. So we should try to change that. Brothers and sisters here, we should try to change that. I'm talking to everybody. We should try to change that. I mean, the way to change that is to get access to good quality data. So either we should collect the data ourselves, or we should have access to the data being collected by NGOs in Africa. Thank you, brothers.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Really, I'm very glad to have the opportunity to participate or at least listen to the discussion on what universities are able to do in terms of generating, sharing, and also developing the capacity of the students to produce reliable and accurate data. So from the discussion, I was expecting that these honorable leaders talk about the issue of collaboration. You know, data accuracy is very clear. The strategies are there. When it comes to data collection, the skills could be available in some of the universities. The question is, how are you going to collaborate so that the skills that are available in one university and the resources that the governments have and also what's available in the private sector can be put together so that we can generate more accurate and more reliable data for sustainable development. From yesterday, I was expecting that the discussion starts with sustainable development, definition of the concept, then moving what we have already done in terms of sustainable development, then moving to what data or scientific data can contribute to sustainable development. Then from there, establishing some form of forum, form of collaborative device or strategy or platform that can contribute to the overall effort of improving the lives of our people. So my question is, you guys, what are you doing to collaborate so that your efforts are put in one boat? Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for the audiences on the panel. My question is a direct one. How we can get the exact number of students in each university? We know how to collect data, but actually we don't know the exact number of, some students exaggerate the exact number of their students. Therefore, the question is, how we can get the exact number of each students in Somaliland students.
Assalamu alaikum. In a world of following with the data but lack of direction, how can universities in our region can become not just a center for knowledge, but can be engine for ethical, data-driven, and also transformation for sustainable development?
So, well, thank you so much. Appreciate the useful highlights on this very important point. Very specific question to you all is with regard to data. Data is not only universities or research institutions. Data is also at the level of government, at the level of development partners at our respective countries, and the extent to which universities have actually supported those in order to make those data accessible, quality, useful, for the intended purpose is the most important part. So, to what extent have universities went out of their silo, their comfort zone, to actually support those institutions so that the university is more relevant to the community? That's number one. Probably that's what you can learn from each other. That's number one. Number two, I know in our respective universities we are generating data at different levels. The extent to which you have pulled those data, stored together, and made it available for use commonly within the university is also an important lesson that you can basically learn from each other. I just want to know the extent to which each university have done that, so that, you know, every other university can learn from that process in the way of collaboration, partnership, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much. Otherwise, it will become just rhetoric, you know, normal kind of discussion, academic kind of engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And thanks to the panelists for such wonderful discussion. I always say that data is life. Why am I saying so? Because if you have reliable data and you are able to make proper insights from the data, then we can come out with good policies for development of our countries. So I believe that mine is not a question, but in a way or a form of addition, I believe government needs to take the necessary steps to invest in data infrastructure and capacity building to help us promote that. If we are able to achieve this, then I think government can mandate open data policy for institutions while protecting privacy. I know data privacy is one of the challenges we are facing. So if government can come out with policies, whilst the data could be given to the institutions to work with, but will protect the privacy of our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, audiences, for your useful insights, questions, and comments. Given that the time left for us is very short, I will give one question to each of the panelists. Then I will have a general question addressed to all university leaders. One of the questions addressed was, do we have accurate and reliable data for decision making? Do our institutions, including higher education institutions, have accurate and reliable data which can be used for decision making and policy informing? I will give this question to the President of Ahmed University, Dr. Mohammed Musa Jibril.
Thank you for your question. Is the problem? These are, I think, some of the challenges that universities have. There is no central policy which can integrate all researches which are being done by all different stakeholders or researchers. That's the problem. But universities have policies, guidelines, rules and regulations of research. But there are fragmented activities. That's the problem. Therefore, what do we need? We need that all stakeholders, including government, partners, companies, universities, come together and work together. When it comes to sustainable development, yes, the definition of sustainable development is nothing else, is benefiting the resource that the country has at that time, bearing in mind future generation. Therefore, I think when we conclude this conference, we will produce what we have agreed for the last 3 days. I think so. Therefore, you can get the good answer from there. How can university become engine for transformation of sustainable development? Universities are ready. They have researchers. They have enough knowledge and skills. But what do we need? We need collaboration with other organizations in the country. I think and the countries and universities are different in their locations or in their countries. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another important question addressed to the panelists was, how can universities themselves collaborate so that they can have strategies and ways to share data and other experiences among themselves? I will give this question to Shir, the President of Chicago University.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Before coming about the collaboration, I will just comment a little bit about the previous discussion. I think one of the participants raised, we are always face some reports of the same activity with different, outcomes. I think what this comes because of the reliability and the accuracy of our data management. I would like to remind you that sometimes we need that, data standardization. For example, the technique and the methodology of data analysis depends, the outcome that we are getting depends on the methodology and the approach or the technique that we are using to get the final result of the data report. So I think one of the most important is, if a researcher analyzes he or her data and come up with a result, the next researcher can use that specific result with the reference of the previous researcher. But if the next one take the information and recook by himself, then I think that is unethical, and then it will give a different result sometimes also. We face the same thing at university level. So our students, they take some information from some specific place, and then they recook it, or they may add something, then automatically the result will be different from the previous one. That is one thing. Coming to the point of the collaboration, I think I will give you a highlight in Ethiopian context nowadays. There are a lot of reforms going on in Ethiopia higher education. There are a lot of professors who are senior from me who are here, just here from Addis Ababa and others. One is the improvement of the quality of higher education. And this will come only when one of the most important of the government and the higher education is focusing on data management. How all this higher education is nowadays, they are providing either master programs or they are providing PhD programs. Therefore, there are a lot of publications. So there is a national depository framework nationally. All researchers, when they write a publication, they have to put their findings in that national depository places. So that is one to facilitate the collaboration among the universities nationally and also with the external international universities as well. So that is one of our collaboration initiatives in Ethiopia context. If we come to Somaliland or other neighboring countries, Jijiga University, we are now already established a data center. So in the future, we are putting a backup all publication and data that we are getting in at the university level, and every university can get an access to do that, to do for future, purposes. But we have to always unethical. If somebody takes some information from, but data needs privacy, data needs, ethical, so we have to always focus the ethics of the data that we are using for our research. So collaboration is allowed, and then, but, mismanagement or doing something irrelevant is not necessary always for our reliability of data in the future. So collaboration of higher education is really very important. If I need a specific data, for example, from Somaliland University, I have to communicate. Communication is very, very important. And the standardization and the policy for the other stakeholders like, from the government or private institutions or NGOs and other humanitarian organizations, they always depend on the higher education research outcomes. So we have to always very careful what kind of research outcome that we are providing for our stakeholders. I think that is the main issue that we have to always discuss and keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will give another question to Dr. Fuad from University of Hargeisa. On behalf of the universities or on behalf of all the panelists, to what extent do universities or are universities prepared to become a reliable source of disseminating data and information to the public?
Thank you so much, Mukhtar. Regarding to the data importance, we have already mentioned. There are two questions which I would like to say something. For example, regarding the collaboration or collaboration of the universities, or those things are very, very important. Omar, the former Minister of Health, Minister of Health and Planning, thank you so much for that question. This is a very good question. This is the University of Hargeisa, University of Amud, and the University of Porto. We have already established a consortium which the fundamental role is to work together in research, to put together our efforts related to conducting or producing a reliable data. Chikchiga University, Amud University, and Hargeisa, we are conducting a cross-border research on mental health. So the efforts of those universities are really putting together, but not only the universities to collaborate for uniting their efforts together, but the organizations, private institutions, public institutions, those, all of them should have a collaboration with each other. They should put together their efforts in conducting good research, producing reliable data. Those collaborations are really very, very important. Regarding to sustainability, sustainable development goals, some sectors are very important to do together a very good collaboration. For example, the health sector, the education sector, environmental sustainability and climate change, those areas can be collaborated each other. The universities and the other organizations who are involved in research, they can do a lot together. The other question which have already been mentioned here is there a policy related to data management, data privacy? There is no national data policy management nationally. There is no policy, but each university, for those who are here, they do have their own policies which can guard the accuracy and privacy and the management of policy, on the management of data. But there is no national policy here in Somaliland. Ethiopia is totally different. The other question related to accessibility or availability of data, Ethiopian context is totally different. In Ethiopia, students and researchers can access the data. But here in Somaliland, it is somehow very difficult. I'm very happy that the companies, including Telesom and Somtel, Dahabshil, they are all here with us. The organizations, including Safety Children and other organizations, they are also here. The universities are here. I think it is really very important for all of us to collaborate each other, to support each other, to produce, disseminate, and use a reliable data which can be a decision or policy-making driven information. Thank you.
Thank you. I will give the last minute to Dr. Hassan from Djibouti University. The question is, are our universities or higher education institutions well prepared to become a reliable source of data dissemination to the public? Thank you.
Thank you. So I will be the last. For me, just what is very important for me is we talk about collaboration. We have to improve our collaboration to help each other. If we are talking about dissemination, if you have to go to have to improve, we have to work together. We have in terms of research, mobility of students. We have the regional collaboration is very important, very important. We don't have to forget that we have the same language, we have the same people, so we need to work together. So if we work together, we can face all the challenge. That's very important. Just is what I want to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank our panelists for their insightful and also our audiences. And for that, I will formally conclude the session. Thank you so much. I will welcome Dr. Muna Ahmed Abdullahi to lead the remaining sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our esteemed university leaders for such an insightful discussion on the power of data in shaping sustainable development. One clear takeaway for me personally is that data is more than just statistics. It is a driver for decision making and long-term process. And as Prof commented, data is life in this era. I can see that we are losing our energy a bit, and it's okay. As soon as we finish our next keynote session, we will go for our break time. With this inspiration of this discussion in mind, let us keep the energy going and move to our next session. It will answer one key question that most of you have been asking throughout the panel discussion, which was, how can universities collaborate together towards sustainable development? But before I go there, before I tell you who is going to answer that question, shall we all stand up so we can stretch a bit? We've been sitting for an hour plus. Yes, everybody. Stretch your arms and your legs. Yes. I don't see any arms moving. Yes, that's good. Well, I said you can sit up, stand up, and stretch, but I did not say you can talk. Thank you so much. You can sit. Are we ready for the next session? Okay. I am delighted to welcome our first keynote speaker. He's an associate professor of educational policy and leadership studies at Addis Ababa University, a leading researcher in educational leadership and policy. He has also guided some of our young talents from Ahmad University, such as Dr. Jibril Abdelkader and Dr. Mukhtar Abdi, who was the moderator of the previous panel session. They have been very lucky. This next professor has advised national and international organizations, so I think he can answer most of our questions in this session. Today he takes on a vital question: how can universities harness data and partnerships to drive sustainable development? Do you want to know who this professor is? Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Befikadu Zilig Kidan. Inkwandela Mechatu. Welcome, Prof. the Q&A session will be after all 4 keynote speakers are done, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, I know this while I was a secondary school student, and I was listening to one of the radio stations that was transmitted, I think, from Hargeisa or Somaliland, or maybe from Mogadishu. And it was used to transmit starting from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. always in Amharic, and they were used to transmit Amharic music. And the famous musicians like Tlahun Gassasa, Alamay Yoshete, and they like Mahmoud Ahmed and others will transmit. And then I was used to always listen to that radio, and then I became familiar with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, during my that age, it's around 1978 to 1980. Thank you so much. Before I directly go to my presentation, I would like to really thank the Amud University, the university president and his team to organize such international conference, and that brought us together to have some says on this issue of data-driven future and the like, okay? When I was given this title to make as a guest speech, I have just focused on the topic. What you speak must be related to your topic. And your topic must limit your speech, okay? So when I was given this assignment, I just took some of the basic terminologies, and which I also used to advise my students whenever you propose a topic. Your topic must indicate what you investigate, and all the variables has to be treated according to your topic, okay? So this was the topic, and of course I didn't talk about myself because the moderator has already introduced me, but she didn't mention that something personal. I am a father of 4 children, and all of them are in my university now, the university age, and I am mentioning this because it has some relations with data. And the coming generation is a data generation, by the way, which our universities should take care in their programs. My first son is a software engineer, graduated from my own university. Now he has pursued his master's at the same university, or the same university, in his information system. And I was looking into he has already completed his topic, the courses, and he is looking for his topic. And the topic that he was suggesting as totally data-driven, all of his topics. My second daughter, she is almost will graduate this year and a medical doctor. And I asked her what she would pursue for her MSc degree, and she said psychiatry. Psychiatry is data-driven, so it is data science. And my third one, again, is a software engineer, and he will graduate next year. And I was asking him what he will pursue in his master's, and he said data science, especially data science in sports. And they know that. And the fourth one, she will again graduate next year in public relations and strategic communication. And I was talking to her, and she said, I will use and I will study data for communication industry. So the coming generation is a data-driven generation. It's a data generation. Are we ready, our universities ready, to accept and address the need and the demands of the coming generation? Is very, very important, okay? So I'm just mentioning this because the coming generation is a data generation, okay? So I have organized my presentation. Sorry. No. But now, again. So I have organized my presentation and the outlines and the themes that emerged from the topic itself. The introductory part is there, and then the creating a database future, and we'll start by defining data, and then how can we align data analysis and organizational roadmap. I will talk it later on. I know our universities will not go anywhere by using only 5 years strategic plan. You have to think ahead. I mean, some 10 or 20 years or long-range plans are very, very important for you. So how can we align data with this organizational roadmap or university roadmap developments? Then we make so that we can make our universities in the Horn of Africa as smart universities. And then we look into data, as has been discussed earlier, has their own, or data has its own limitations. So in part 5, I will focus on limitations of implementing big data analysis. Then the second part, and very important, is how can we create university partnership, okay? So what should we do to increase in relation to data and whatsoever? So another aspect in the topic is developing capacity at university education in Africa, and challenges, development challenges that we are currently facing in Africa, and what do we expect from our universities in capacity development in this regard? What should they do? What should they do? So they have to develop their vision 2040 or 2050, for example. It will be one of the important areas. Then finally, we'll have some concluding remarks and the way reward, okay? Now this is what I say, yeah. In the introduction section, we look into importance of big data. And big data is very important to become a competitive, to be innovative, as well as a strategic foresight. That is what I'm interested in, okay? And university partnership in this regard is very, very important. We can collaborate across the 3 important university missions, which are teaching, research, community service, okay? We can create partnership and help our society and encourage or promote our nation's development, okay? What are Africa's development contexts, and identifying key challenges and demonstrating how universities can lead capacity development are some of the very important points that will be addressed. So, the first important point is data. Creating a data-based future. Data, as you know, is what? It's a piece of information. Actually, this is very elementary one to define for you. It's an information or bits of information that we collect for certain purpose, okay? For certain purpose, it's an evidence, okay? So big data could be a small size, an average size, or it could be a big data. And what we are talking about is a big data, okay, that we can use for planning our future, planning our development issues, okay? So big data is large, complex, and data sets in structured, or it could be in semi-structured, or it could be in a structured form. So data, especially the big data, enables the universities to be more proactive. We expect our universities to be change agents, okay, of the nation, where knowledge is created, where innovations are created and disseminated to address public problems and public challenges, okay? So they have to be ready for that. So they have to be forward thinking. And as I said earlier, we will not go anywhere by using only 5 years strategic plan. I will come to it later on. We have to plan for 20 years. We have to plan for 30 years. We have to be a visionary universities in Africa, okay? That will help us really to address our problems. So to be proactive and forward thinking and to be cost effective, so big data is very, very important. And big data also help us to develop, or we are expected to develop digital strategies. We do have, for example, in my university, IT technology, which is well organized and structured, where you can access every information that you need, as has been mentioned by Dr. Fuad from Hargeisa University. We can access, for example. So our universities, our neighboring universities must also develop such strategies, okay? So big data will help you, as it has been discussed by most of you, to make sound decisions by policymakers, by our universities, so that we can advise policymakers and decision makers, okay? So In terms of IT capacities, we can talk of three important areas, okay? Three important dimensions. One of these capacities is IT management capabilities that you have been discussing now. We need to effectively manage our capacities. IT infrastructure capability and development is very, very important for our universities. And IT employee capability, we need to develop the capacity of IT personnel, okay? It's very, very important. So these three important areas are very, very important for our universities. So, if what is data and the importance of big data and the dimensions of big data are clear now, how can we align this data with universities' or roadmap, for example, okay? As I said, we need to develop 2040, 2050 plans in our universities, and we need to have them. So the alignment is very, very important to realize business goals, to achieve business goals, our strategies, and create sustainable institutional development. I will come to what do you mean by institutional development, but that's also very important for us. So lack of alignment means can lead to decreased performance of our universities. So in this regard then, we would like to have a smart universities in Africa. Our universities must be smart ones. What do you mean by a smart university, okay? Here, a smart university detects change. It's always embark on change because change is taking place in every minute and every second nowadays. Unless our universities are ready to address these changes and move with the changing environment, they will not survive. They will get out of business and they will fail. That's why we say we need to create a universities that can change with the changing environment. If possible, they can move ahead because they are knowledge centers, they are knowledge creators, we expect them to be innovators of the ideas, okay? So a smart university is a university that can scan the environment, both the internal as well as the external environment, and then that can really plan its own change and embark on change. That is what we mean by a developmental university or a progressive university, or what we call a smart university. So a smart university has a clear purpose. A smart university is a visionary university. A smart university aspires to become a leading research university in that region. If you take Amud University, for example, you have to aspire to become a leading research university first in Somaliland, and then you may look for the Horn of Africa, and including the East Africa, then why not in Africa? You have to plan for that in the coming 40 years, in the coming 50 years. We need to plan that way, and that is how we can move forward. So you can take that, for example, I can take Ethiopian Airlines. That's why it's excelling in Africa. They have 20 years plan. Now they have completed the first 10 years plan. Now they have embarked, even before their plan, they have completed the 10 years plan. Now they have 2035 plan, where they are constructing a new city around 50 kilometers far from Addis, in about $10 billion and the like. So they are working on the second phase now. So we have to work on long-term plans, and we have to also, a smart university is a learning organization. You have to learn from your day-to-day experience. You have to learn from the knowledge and innovations that you create in your university. We have to learn. So a smart university is a learning university. To what extent you university leaders are ready then to make your university a smart university is a question, okay? It's a question. So we can talk a lot about smart universities, and the smart university starts by understanding the broader context, where the world is heading, where the world is moving. In that case, you may look into the external environment, which we call the looking into opportunities and threats that we have, that we will face in the coming years, and how customers and the industry are changing, and we have to look at that. And then you have to align your internal implications. That means a smart university needs to have a SWOT analysis. Okay, when you say SWOT analysis, the strengths and weaknesses focuses on the internal environment, the way things are going on, our strengths and current weaknesses. Then the opportunities and threats are focuses on the external environment, which is beyond, but they have to scan, and the environmental scanning is very, very important. So, in all of these presentations, I'm focusing on the importance of big data, okay, to create smart universities, to create universities that are visionary, okay, universities that are planning and visioning to become a leading universities in Africa, for example, okay. But data has also its own limitations. You have been discussing in the panel discussions, and I've just organized them here. One of the limitations of big data is quality and reliability of the data has to be checked. To what extent our data is reliable, what is the quality level is very, very important. That is very, very important issue. Concern for data privacy and security is also very, very important, which has also been raised in the panel discussion. I don't have to repeat it, okay? The third important and limitation is, it has been mentioned by Dr. Fuad from Hargeisa University. You have said lack of skilled personnel proficient in data analysis and interpretation. This is also one of the limitations that our universities face today, okay? That is also another limitation. And the first one is the scalability and the infrastructure requirements, which we lack, most of our universities lack. That is also one of the limitations that we face. And ethical implications. It has been raised yesterday about ethical utilization of data, even by Professor Magarsa, I think, and some other presenters were also raising. This is also one of the limitations of data science or using data. I finished my data, but now on my presentation data, university partnership, what do you mean by that? And what do you mean by sustainable development? What do you mean by sustainable university or institutional development? And what are the challenges in Africa now? Partnership, as you know, is simply collaborations, strategic alliance, or it could also be called joint venture, or we call it as academic engagement of different universities together, okay? So it's a deliberately and a designed collaborative arrangement between two or more institutions, especially here in the Horn of Africa. So universities partnership are often connected to the mission of the university. When we talk of university partnerships, we have to look into the three important university missions. One is what? The teaching. The other is the research. And the third one is service giving, okay? So how can we collaborate across this? So when we look into research partnerships, this supports the commercialization of academic knowledge, where universities get together to develop projects together, where they carry out different research outputs, produce research together, and where they disseminate the outputs. In doing so, these universities will exchange their experiences. They exchange the culture, research culture. They also develop their own capacities in the process. So that is one important area that we need to focus when we talk of university partnership in relation to research. The second one, which is very, very important to some of the universities here, is teaching. In teaching, we can collaborate. We can create partnership through developing programs or promoting programs here and there. If you come to Addis Ababa University, we have more than 700 programs now, which we can also help other universities in Somaliland through our partnerships. For example, as you have mentioned earlier, some of our students come from Amud University, Hargeisa University to Haramaya University and Bajrar University. Am I clear? If that is the case, why not we develop these PhD programs here, so that we can bring professors here to strengthen these programs, so that we can train and have more qualified PhD holders in this country, in the Somaliland. So program, strengthening the programs, developing programs, and encouraging courses. By the way, within very recent times, Addis Ababa University will have plenty of online courses, PhD programs. I'm asked to develop for 2 PhD programs, courses now, which we will embark on as of September. That is an opportunity for universities in Somaliland, Amod University or Hargeisa University and other universities that are looking to develop their programs at the PhD level, at the higher level. So we will do that for you there, and then we can arrange, and a partnership in teaching must focus on program, support program development, work integrated learning, service to students and university, and quality learning programs could also be designed through university partnership, okay? The third one is community partnership. In the area of community, universities can also get together and strengthen their partnership to involve on community partnerships that serve the community locally as well as in the region. So these are important areas that we need to focus when we create partnerships among universities in the Horn of Africa or elsewhere in these 3 important university missions. So the topic that was given again includes the idea of sustainable institutional development. When we say institutional development is increasing the capacity of institutions at 3 different levels, at the individual level, at the organizational level, as well as at the systems level, okay? So we have to increase, or we need to increase their performances and their capacities. So these are the individual, the organizational, and at the same time, systems level. So that's very, very important. And I think I don't have to define what institutions are. They are given here, and you know that the sustainability is very, very important. That needs to be defined here. Then, you know, the term sustainability was initially discussed at, I think, Stockholm 1974 conference or summit that relates to environmental sustainability. And then it became an international discourse then after. Okay, sustainability is nothing but development that meets the needs of what? The present, without compromising or without affecting the ability of future generations. So our universities, are they ready to do that, is the question now, okay? So sustainable universities will operate continuously without interruption in regards to their individuals, in regards to their organizational setup, and they have to continue in their outputs as well. So that is what I mean by institutional sustainability and the like. So it is, of course, sustainability is a multi-dimensional concept with 4 important dimensions here. You can look into technical sustainability, managerial sustainability, management should be sustainable, organizational performance should be sustainable, and a stakeholder sustainability. These are the 4 important dimensions. I don't want to discuss them in detail. So what then we expect to be sustainability in higher education? What do we mean by that? Sustainability in our universities, okay? Here, our universities are expected to remain sustainable with the roles they play, okay? The roles we have said are 3 important missions that they have: the research, teaching, as well as is their organizational frameworks, okay? So universities impact the environment negatively through waste management, for example, okay? Through waste management, okay? They generate an extensive amount of waste. And the role of higher education is to contribute to solving this global challenge, okay? And by producing professionals, okay? So we have to look for that as universities. So research and educational activities within universities can be pursued as a catalyst for development of sustainable innovations and promoting sustainability. I would like to mention one important point here. Our universities must be greener. our universities must be work towards achieving sustainable environmental protection in their campuses. These days in Ethiopia, there is a project that I am leading, Greening Tibet, focusing on Polytechnic College. It's a 2 years project. We have already started it. We are trying to develop understanding the capacity of trainers on greening and sustainable development, and then to develop their capacity through training. And our next focus will be, of the project will be on universities. Our universities have this concept of greening. That is very, very important. Okay? So we'll see the results that we'll arrive at from that project, and then we'll multiply it to our universities later on, all right? So barriers, there are also certain barriers in the efforts of our universities to become sustainable or implementation of sustainability in our universities. And we know that most of our universities, they lack what? Financial support, they don't have. And they lack of common understanding of this concept of sustainability, insufficient institutional frameworks, and lack of concrete rewards for the staff engaged in sustainability issues are very, very important. If you talk of capacity, we need to talk about the need and the challenge that Africa is currently facing, okay? And the expectations from our universities to develop the capacities and address this African challenge, okay? What are the challenges that we have now? Capacity is simply the ability of the institution or the individual or the organization. Yeah, I'll finish it. So building capacity is very, very important. Our universities must engage in developing knowledge, skills, technologies, and institutions needed to carry out their roles and their responsibilities, okay? So from the university perspective, again, there are 4 types of capacities that we expect. The human, the organizational, the structural, and the material capacities are very, very important so that our universities will carry out their missions, okay, in the coming generations. So this is about PhD programs that I have been talking, how we can create partnership in that area, so I don't have to focus on it. Outcomes of university capacity building, we focus on 3 important areas. The first order change, developmental. The second one is transitional or second order change, and the third one is transition, transformational, or what we call third order change. This model is taken from Kurt Lewin's 1951 model. If you know force field analysis, I don't want to discuss it now. The first order change to bring change in our universities is changing the mindset of the staff. Change the mindset, make them ready for change by showing that the past operations are no more. That is what Kurt Lewin proposed in 1951. He's an American. I don't want to tell you the history of his research or whatsoever. The second level is, once you have changed it, the mental set, the mindset of the staff, now they start to move, change their customary ways of doing things. That is what I mean by the second level change. The third level change is what he has called as transformation. So Kurt Lewin called it the first change as moving. That is, the third one is implementing the change. In implementing the change, that means the change becomes part and parcel of the working system in that case. That means you have changed the culture and created a new norm, working culture, and then the like. This is one of the models that has to be used in our universities. And I call this model, there are different or plenty of models of change, but I call Kurt Lewin's model as a mother of all changes, okay? So you can use it while planning change in your universities. I think Africa has a problem in infrastructure. They fail in building resilience beyond, and this is very, very important. We are always asked to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, which are planned by others. Third one is securing stability, climate change, instability, and graduate unemployment is very serious these days. Especially our universities and governments should take care of this graduate unemployability. They are becoming weapons against the governments. We can take plenty of examples from the Ethiopian experience, but I don't want to discuss that one. There are some capacity areas that we need to focus, but University roadmap is very, very important. As I said earlier, you have to focus on SWOT analysis and develop your capacities. There are certain benefits of long-range university plans, which I mentioned earlier. I don't want to discuss it. In the conclusion, the interdependent relationships between data-driven innovation and sustainable institutional development are very, very important for our universities. Big data analytics, that is aligned with institutional strategies, organizational culture for driving change in our universities is very, very important. The pivotal role of universities as agents of capacity development and change for Africa is very, very important, okay? The way forward. There is a need for strategic integration of big data in our vision and development whatsoever. There is also a need for institutionalized, creating smart university models in our region. There is a need for strengthening university industry, and government partnership should be encouraged. We need to develop longer-term university roadmaps, Vision 2040, Vision 2050, and the like, which our universities must take it as an assignment. Enhancing research and capacity building partnership programs is very, very important, and embed sustainability across institutional missions. I don't know how I can pronounce it, but this is what we mean by Somali language. Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Ah, okay. Professor Befikadu, you say Mahad Senate. Mahad Senate. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. And I will say thank you in your language, which is Amisikinalo, for your presentation. Professor, he currently holds the position of President of the Ethiopian University Teachers Association, or in short, EUTA. Thank you for your presentation. Your insights gave us much to reflect on regarding the future of higher education, its societal role, and the way forward with smart universities. Now, we need a little bit of glucose in our system. It's break time. So university leaders, private sectors, they will go with our protocol and Director of Protocols and Events, Mr. Zakaria, who is wearing the blue shirt and walking right there. The rest of us will stay in this hall, and we have our teas, coffees, and a little bit to eat in this room. I would like to remind you of the time that we are coming back. This is just so we can get back our energy. See you in 15 minutes.